About the essential aspect of the Jewish soul, of the soul of YISRAEL, and we went into a very difficult nekuda of either Hashem Echad or Hashem Acher, serving Hashem or Avodah Zarah. It pretty much comes down to that, and that's something which a Yiddish soul has that choice every moment. Now my son had a choice, Shabbos, could he just wander around with some friends or come to Shabbos Sudas? He came to Shabbos Sudas, Baruch Hashem. And he heard from Rav Shlomo exactly what he needed to hear. Like he said, it's like he felt so sameach and so elevated by the words, and that shows you if you choose Hashem, Hashem will shine what you need. Because there's Hashem Echad, so why not? Like you're tuning into the oneness of Hashem. And what was so beautiful about what Rav Shlomo said about bringing all the different parts together, and in terms of the matzeva and having all the different kinds of stones when you have a mizbeach and not a matzeva, which is only one. So you shouldn't just only be stuck in one thing. You should be able to bring together all the different parts and different ways of and elevate them like a nachas ruach to Hashem. So that is something which personally, unity projects, everything I'm doing, unity flow, everything I'm about is about collaboration. And that's why I get pained when organizations aren't interested, because I'm like, you're going to stay at a certain space. And if you're able to collaborate, you're going to grow much more. And that's what Klal Yisrael have to do more. Not just in collaboration, not just unity between different groups of Jews, but also in business and how they do things, to be a collaborative mindset where we work together because we need each other. To say that I'm okay in my space and I've got my little shefa, I don't need you, I'm independent, that's a level, but it's still not. There's a concept being independent, which is a good thing to become, not to be dependent on people, but to become interdependent, which is when you're all working together. That's when you're synergizing. That's when Klal Yisrael become a whole nother level. When we're in the cow, you see, like coming up to Slichas and coming up to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur Sukkot, it's all about being with the community and the Tzibur. Personally, I'm all in right now. I've sold my place to Yerushalayim, I'm moving to Efrat because I want to be part of this community because I think it's an amazing community. My wife? Oh. Okay. Thank you, sir. I'll be 1 second. I went to see my wife and she gave me food. So this is how it goes. Okay, so we're learning Tu B'Shvat Torah, Odameit Sodeh. We just had last week's Parsha Shvatim. We're just like looking at where we are in our learning. The Chitas, when all of the Chabadniks are learning and all the people who do Chitas are learning, and then Min HaShamayim, then the same Parsha is talking about Odameit Sodeh. Right. The person's like a tree, and that's Tu B'Shvat. So we're just now ending the Tu B'Shvat concept, and we're heading into Sheishes Shvat. Right. The 16th of Shvat of Chitas, Misha Pekach Nefesh Doches Shah Aveiros Gam Yova Al Yarov. True, we find the principle that saving a life overrides other prohibitions. You got it?
I'm just trying to find the Hebrew.
16th of Shvat.
No, I have it. Oh, okay. MASHA Pekach Nefesh.
Yeah. So this is something really, really important. Pekach Nefesh. Since we mentioned my son, that's one of the heterim that the army have to be Mechal Shabbos. They're Mechal Shabbos, Hashem Shemenu. And it's hard because he's been so many Shabbos where he's been forced to Mechal Shabbos, and then he's coming back to Shabbos, and it's overwhelming the back and forth between a world of Shabbos and a world of Gaza where it's the opposite of Shabbos. Like it's not just that you're being forced to break Shabbos because of Pekach Nefesh, but you're forced to break Shabbos because of what? Right. Because it's the whole environment, the whole place there is not Shabbos-tic. Right. It's the opposite of Shabbos and Nazir. Yeah?
And we're trying to just now talk about what we learned last time, which was about the fact that all Aveiros are the same.
Oh, in terms of even the lightest Aveira, the lowest level of Aveira, right, to the biggest level of Aveira. So there's someone who's Pekach Nefesh and he's pushing away the other Aveiros, he has to give up his life. So what the Tanya is going to tell us is going to bring a very big Kiddush, that even though the Torah distinguishes between idolatry and other commandments, and the Alter Rebbe...
Right, like going back to what he said.
Yeah, he's trying to help make that chiluk.
And we turn that into being like a big
Shabbos Achas Kedei Shmor Shabbos. Why do you mechal one Shabbos when you're in Aza? So you can be God many Shabboses. Yeah, the whole idea of Pekach Nefesh is because Hashem wants Chai B'hem. He wants us to live in the mitzvahs. So there's going to be certain situations in life where in order for Am Yisrael to live in the mitzvahs, because remember, we're an Am, we're a nation, So he's doing shirut for us, for Klal Yisrael. It's not just by himself serving in the army. He's for all of Klal Yisrael, so that we have the shmirah. Literally, these people want to kill us. It's not like a suffix. They actually want to kill us. That's what they're trained to do. It's what their education is. What they're all the way up. My son's seen it with his own eyes from babies all the way through. Once they get age chinuch, we're learning Torah Siv Lanu. And Moda'ani, they're learning how to kill Jews. That's literally the chinuch. And it's, you can say, oh, that's very controversial. No, my son's seen it with his own eyes in all their houses, with the children's books, all the way through to the adults, and the paraphernalia of Hamas, and the Mein Kampf, and it's a real thing. It's not some, emotional discussion. This is just reality, what's going on over there. So we're therefore, if there's a whole group of people who want to kill us, in order for us to be able to have many Shabbases in this world, we need an army to stop them from trying to kill us.
Right.
Yeah, so the point is, the long term is we're going to have Shabbos.
Right.
And that's lo mishum kalas Aveiros and it's not because of the relative leniency of Shabbat or gravity of the sin, such as idolatry, that one is waived while the other is not. So that's the painful thing that my son's experienced, and I know that if I would go back to my Zayder when he started breaking Shabbos because of his pressures and his nisyonis in his time, Baruch Hashem, hopefully yours didn't, but mine did. Why? And his pressure was, as soon as he became bar mitzvah, his father said, enough with his Shabbos, keeping Shabbos the whole day, I need you to come work with me. And literally they daven nates, they do Kiddush, and they go out to work Shabbos day. So until every morning after Kiddush, he was keeping Shabbos, and then after that. And then what happens after years of doing that, until you're like 20-something years old, eventually, you forget about Shabbos. And that's, my Zayda only came back somewhat to Shabbos at the end of his life. And he told me all about this journey. It was intense to hear, because there was tremendous pressure upon us. Nowadays, we've got the army situation. It's very difficult, for people in Eretz Yisrael. In Chutz La'aretz we had the Panasa and the Sionis. Here it's the security. It
reminds me of the story of Zusha and the bucket of poop, right?
Yeah.
If Hashem doesn't want you to daven in that moment, there's a level of being able to dance around the bucket of poop. So that's what Hashem. If the Torah is Kim Chayinu, and we're not supposed to be doing Shabbos, supposed to be. The army should make it a gaval. Like Shabbos in the army, by not keeping Shabbos, should be the highest Shabbos in the world.
So what he's getting us to is what the Tanya is getting to. Is the idea of Chassidus is tuning into the Ratzon Hashem, Hashem Echad. And the Nekudah, Rav Kimchi yesterday said to my son, I had a whole private conversation, I don't know if you saw it, but by the end they were in each other's arms like this.
Oh, wow.
And he gave my son a lot of chizuk about this, what you just said, that you just don't feel bad about it. Like you have to, through simcha, the only way you can really do tshuva is simcha. And you have to realize that this is your situation right now. But long term, you want to be Shomer Shabbos Legamre. But
even more, you're allowing others to keep Shabbos.
Sure.
And sometimes we keep Shabbos, it's so self-centered. It's like, that's my Shabbos.
My Shabbos,
Imagine a Shabbos you can empower
Shabbos Lishma. Yeah, Shabbos Lishma. It's true.
By the way, not just that Shabbos, Shabbos forever.
Yeah, I'm saying
think about it.
But I want to hear what Eliyahu was reading, because he's touching on Rav Chaim. What's Chaim Miller saying? What's he saying?
I'm just reading where he's going with this a little bit here.
Tell me.
He's talking about how what we're trying to figure out here is that he's ultimately trying to come to this proof that all Aveiros are equally in terms of how when we do the Aveiro, it's a disconnection from Hashem, whether we're doing something as small as
doesn't matter, small or big, or Shabbos. Shabbos
the worst
is huge.
Aveiro in the more.
Yeah, Shabbos is the big one. But the point is that,
so it's just an interesting,
or Vodazara, God forbid,
this whole so the Baal Hatanya is
equalizing.
Proof here is a really interesting proof. It's because he goes into how now when a person is Machal Shabbos, how if he's only Machal Shabbos and he's for one specific Indian, he could still trust his Shechita here as well too.
There we go. Can trust his Shechita. And Lord Kalas Abayis Chomorim Tidash Shabbos Chomorim Shkola Kavod Azor the Indian Shechita Muma Ledavet. So he says that Shabbos is a grave offense compared to idolatry with the law of Shechita. Because what happens if someone does break Shabbos or someone does a Vodazor, God forbid, he's not able to do Shechita for the community, his treif.
Right.
And this is a halach in kashrus, and you're there. Yeah, and also, like you said about in terms of affecting the people, someone who's guarding the Shabbos or someone who's guarding Am Yisrael, is protecting all the Klal Yisrael. But someone who's breaking Shabbos when he doesn't have to, and it's avodah zarah, God forbid, where he definitely doesn't have to, so he shouldn't do it. So then his shchita is now pasul or treif, and then if everyone who's eating from him is now has a yerida from his kashrus. It's no longer kosher shchita.
Eli Nassim Silverberg, when we learned Tanya, he said that he gave the mashal for the alphabet was like a plug. Because imagine there's a plug in the wall. So one plug is going to charging your phone. So you unplug it, you just charge it. Let's say one plug was going to power a whole nuclear plant.
Sure.
You unplug that plant. It could be the biggest. The whole plant went down.
Yeah.
So we don't know that what we're doing is the same action. We're just unplugging and disconnecting.
That MASHA is getting more and more relevant now with electric cars, for example. They don't even know how much drain it's going to have on the electric system when more and more electric cars get more and more popularized and to the point where some states are even forbidding diesel. They're not even going to know how much of drain it's going to be on the whole, what do you call it, the General Electric
ecosystem.
Yeah, also there's a name for the whole
the whole grid.
That's it. The grid is going to probably have, so the problem is they're overwhelming the grid. They need to first build the infrastructure before they push all these environmental agendas. This is something that the politically the Democrats are so dumb about. You have to have clever long time, not just short term.
You have to build kalim for the others.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just have art.
They're passionate liberals without
any kalim.
Well, that's really what it is. When you really slice it down,
such a
the liberals are really coming from a place of just pure art, and the right is coming from a place of kalim.
But the or becomes hoshich.
The or becomes because when you have no kalim, light is only light when it's in the presence of darkness.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's just pure light, there's nothing there.
But that's one of the things I feel like with the Baal Hatanya. I think he was misunderstood how much he was about Caleb. I also had this conversation once with Morgenstern, Mamish with Morgenstern, and he was on the phone. He was telling me to go to Uman. This is before he started staying in Yerushalayim. I've been connected to these people way before they became famous in America or whatever. So I was there years and years ago, and he was telling me I have to go to Uman. And he was on the phone, and I said I don't have the kalim, like it's to be sure it's a kalim if I go to Uman. He said to me, who'd you daven by? I said, I daven by Simai Zilberberg. He's a big tzaddik, big Oved Hashem. He said, if you're by him, you're building kalim. That's what he said to me. Like certain people, like if you buy them, even though there's a big ore, but they build kalim as well. There's this concept with the Baal Hatanya, he's bringing a lot of ore, because he was Chai Elul. Chai Elul was a big time of ore. The Baal Shem Tov was Megala or Chai Elul. It's a big ore. But it comes, the Doved Hashem Uri, it's all about light this Chodesh and Rosh Hashanah. But the point is that the Baal Hatanya was, look at it, everything's systemized. Right. He's talking about the system of how the Ruchnius world works. He's not talking about the ore as much. He's talking about the Kalim and giving us the Kalim in a Ruchnius sense. One of the things I'm learning now is Derech Sefer, and it's all been a philosophy versus Kabbalah. And now we've got to this point where it's about the ore and the Kalim.
What's Sefer?
Derech Sefer. And the amazing thing is, I'm doing a course in intimacy. So I said to someone in Bnei Akiva, he overheard us, he's like the head of the program. I said to him, Dom, I'm going to teach them about this Or and Kalim. The only difference is when I'm teaching these young guys about intimacy, I just can't use those words because they don't understand it. But the point is, it really is Oris and Kalim. Shalom Bayis is Oris and Kalim. Husband and wife is Oris and Kalim.
Derech Sefer is the Chabad's version of...
it's the third Rebbe. Similar. It's the third Rebbe who brought down a very deep explanation of how the mitzvahs work. Yeah, and it's amazing sefer. And he was the third Rebbe, and he in the Rebbe's flow, he's the concept of das. Because there's Chochmah Bina Das. He's the third Rebbe, so he's bringing it down into Das. We're right now by Chochmah. When we learn in the Baal Hatanya, we're holding by the Shoresh of Chabad, which is Chochmah.
Right.
MASHA Ein Kain B'mum V'Gilia Rice, a habitual sexual offender, on the other hand, does not have the same law applied to him as a habitual idolater. There's obviously different levels of Aveiros, as we've been saying, so there is different levels, but in terms of going away from the Ratzon Hashem, that's where it's equal. V'afilu haki b'kach nefesh docha Shabbos lo Gilia Rice. The consideration of life overrides Shabbos, but not the sexual prohibitions. If someone said, "Go do this Aveiro with this other person," or you have to give up your life for it. Yeah, please. You have to give up your life for it. The Sunday morning. So we'll have to stop in a minute. Ella de Gezeres Kosovu, but they are simply a matter of scriptural decree. So what does this mean? The sinner who does distinguish between the gravity of the various transgressions, sacrificing his life for the prohibitions of idolatry, but not even restraining a desire for others, surely has his thinking clouded by the spirit of folly. Remember, we learned before that if you do a rise, what's going on over there? God forbid, you should never do it. And even with women as well, if they're adulterous wife, it's a ruch shtus.
Right.
Yeah, but which obscures his hidden love. He has this other mysteries.
Right.
For in reality, every transgression creates the ultimate separation between the sinner and Shem. So that we explained is aus ruch shtus. This is aus pekoch nefesh, yeah, for the harbe shabbosot, yeah, as long as it's for that reason. So there is a chiluk, but the bottom line is, obviously, long term, we want to get back to.
But so now it seems like we're going back to the idea that not all Aveiros were created equally.
Well, there's a back and forth, but the point is where it's come. What's the reason you're doing the Aveiro?
Right.
Adultery, you're doing it because of ruch shtus.
Right.
Because you have a love for Hashem and it got covered up. Why would you do this stupid thing? Yeah, you've got a husband, you've got everything you need. Why do you have to be adulterous to Hashem? Basically, is what it is. So, with the bottom line, the point that connects it all is disconnection. That's the point of Rotz and Hashem, disconnection to Rotz and Hashem. One Rav once said to me, Rizbi, I asked him, what's the most important thing in the Torah? He said, his kashrus, kesher to Hashem. Your connection to Hashem is everything. That's the mitzvah achas, in his opinion. He's a Kohen, he's a big tzaddik. The connection to Hashem, the boy olam, the kesher, the tefillin, the connection, the das. And then, coming back to here, we see the lack of das, the ruch shtus, is what takes away your das. It covers up your das, your avas Hashem, and you get confused.
I mean, ultimately, the Baal Hatanya here is just giving us the ultimate nechama in a way.
In a way, because really, what it's all about, which every Jew has.
Really, an Aveiro is not a. We do an Aveiro, we feel like we're a piece of garbage. And
Yeah,
really
that's
all
the
he's saying
YITZCHAK.
is
That is pure YITZCHAK.
The Aveiro is not about it's like when your kid does something wrong, and really what you want to relate to the kid is I'm not upset at you. I'm not upset at what you did. You're not a bad person.
No.
I just don't want you to do certain things because I love you. I was trying to explain this to my son last night.
That's it.
He
That's
was saying
Elul.
certain things, and I was
That's the true Elul of Oda. It really is.
And I was like, it has nothing to do with who you are, what you are, how much I love you. I was like, the reason why I don't want you to do these things is because I love you, and I don't want to see you, doing things wrong.
See,
Eliyahu
here is giving us a very clear understanding of what the main nekuda is, because really, what we get caught up in is the Aveiro, like he's saying, and the sadness it brings. That's the YITZCHAK. That's nothing to do with anything. Tshuva is besimcha. Tshuva is behava. Tshuva is revealing that you have an intrinsic avas Hashem inside of you, and you got confused, you got distracted, you had a lapse of focus, but it's not who you are be'etzim. My son is amazing. When he's going through this nisyonis right now, he kept saying, he says to me, I am BORUCH YITZCHAK, I am a Kohen, I'm a Jew, I want to keep Yiddishkeit. I'm just going through a difficult time right now. And that is the truth, meaning you're identifying who you are be'emes, and you're being real that you're going through a challenge. And that's okay.
And Avera is a mitzvah is a word, Sivoy, which is connection, and Avera is disconnection.
Right. What does it actually mean, Avera? What does it actually translate Avera literally? Transgression or over, yeah.
Connection, right?
So it sounds very transitionary.
Right.
It doesn't sound something permanent.
Pass over.
Yeah, it's passing over. It's avor.
It comes to me from the word what is it? Adam came from Chava, Aver Me'aver?
Yeah.
The same word?
Aver is, with an iron, yeah.
So I think that's also
limb,
connection.
yeah.
I've heard gematrias or things on chait also. Chait stands for something else also.
Gematria for Rosh Hashanah is nut. Right. That's why people don't eat nuts during the 10 days. Anything association. But that's nuts. Once again, that's like chametz with Pesach. We mentioned this before with the Noam Elimelech. This sort of edel, delicate connection to Hashem that you don't want anything to get in the way. So even a nut, even though it's not going to make you do a sin, but it's because it's the same gematria, so you don't want to bring nuts into that time period because it's like this delicate. It's not because it's going to do any real damage. It's just because there's a certain awareness of the spirituality that's available and you don't want to bring in anything to like cloud that moment. And that's a very sensitive level that Hasidus is very real about. But the problem is what people do is they go crazy about the nuts and the chametz that's not even chametz, and then they forget about the point of it is the relationship with Hashem. And then the kid, all the kid gets aware, like we had in that shir from Shlomo, is the frost and the zets and the poch and the petch. That's all they take away from it. They don't take away the relationship that the father's actually trying to awaken in the son.
Right.
So here he's trying to remind us of the system behind it all. After a sinful act, even if the sin is a type that carries neither the penalty of chorus or death at the hands of heaven, we're almost finished. In which case the divine soul does not completely perish and is not kindly cut off from its source and the living of Hashem. You hear that? You're never really cut off. You just made some sort of like wreckage or weakening in your deveikus, but in somewhat by having that nisayon.
I got to run and drive my kid now to high school.
But what's the bottom line? You've got that love. You've got that relationship.
Also, when it comes from like the Baal Hatanya, it's a certain bit of like, when you hear this from Rav Nachman, it's very easy because like everything he says is very like.
Well, he's pretty intense as well in terms of kedushas of stuff like that.
No, I'm not talking about that specific. I'm saying it comes from like a very like,
He's always reminding us of Zamra Lakai Ba'odi, the good Nakudas, the Chizuk.
Yeah.
But here he's explaining it more like a litvak would.
Right, I'm saying when it comes from a litvak,
it's more litvak stuff, because he was called the litvak, the Baal Hatanya. But then what he's bringing is the panemius to the litvak mind, so it doesn't become like all scary, but it just becomes clarity.
Exactly.
And the clarity actually reminds you of the Avos Hashem.
Okay.
Have a good one. Have a good day, good vach, Shavua Tov, Mashiach now.